Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Remember to vote in the poll and like and subscribe so the grass is greener next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Hal Jordan or John Stewart or that squirrel Green Lantern, whichever you prefer. Personally, I grew up with John Stewart. I just loved his sense of humor and really miss him having a late night show. I also liked the John Stewart Green Lantern. Green light, by Lord. Green light, by Lord. Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need that good radiant energy. Blackest day, brightest night, that kind of thing. Next, we need to get high, and by that I mean flight, not the other type of green magic. Finally, we'll make sure that we can conjure any weapons we want. Your ring is like a tiny armory, and speaking of, we'll make sure that we can get some not very armory armor as well. For stats, we'll be using the standard point array from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just make sure your wisdom and charisma are looking good. Wisdom will be number 1. Will is probably wisdom, either that or charisma. Charisma next, will is probably charisma, either that or wisdom. Dexterity after that, your armor is so tight movie studios just added in post. Does that mean Ryan Reynolds wore a green suit so they could put a green suit on him? Weird. Follow that up with Constitution. You've got to be able to take hits and focus on all those fantastical light shows. Intelligence is lower than I'd like. You've got a veritable encyclopedia inside your ring. We just need other things more, and we'll dump strength. On a character with super strength, obviously this means that I'm just bad at making characters, rather than not being able to get every stat to a 14 minimum. If you want to tell me how bad I am at placing stats, it's good for the algorithm, so just make sure you say which points you'd like to swap out. A ring can choose anything, any race, hell, it can even choose a math equation. I'll be making our Green Lantern a Protector Aasimar because I think it works best, but know that I've made this build to get full Green Lantern powers from all classes and levels, so apply it to whatever you want. There are single-celled Green Lanterns. I cannot emphasize enough how flexible these rings are when they're choosing someone. Anyway, you get +2 charisma, +1 wisdom, 60 feet of dark vision, celestial resistance to take half damage from radiant and necrotic damage, blackest day, brightest night, yada yada yada. The light bearer cantrip gives you the light cantrip for free to make stuff glow with a green light, and healing hands lets you heal creatures as an action by an amount equal to your total level. Get a bit of that healing light. For your background, tweak the soldier background to get athletics and persuasion rather than intimidation. The Green Lanterns are a force for good. Maybe if you change your color scheme, we'll grab the meaner charisma skill. Kick things off as a warlock, and I don't love doing this, but Hexblade is the best Gish class in the game, hands down, and it's particularly good at conjuring a variety of weapons. As a warlock, you can take 2 skills from the warlock list, go for Arcana and Investigation. First off, you're a Hex Warrior, letting you pick up a weapon at the end of a long rest to make your Hex weapon. This lets you use your Charisma modifier instead of Dex or Strength. It just can't be two-handed. This is what makes Hexblade so good at gishing, as other mixes have to use separate stats for their weapons and spells. You can use Hexblade's Curse once per short rest, letting you pick a creature to wreck with your extra willpower, dealing extra damage equal to your proficiency bonus, critting on a 19 or 20, and healing an amount equal to your Warlock level and Charisma modifier when you knock them to 0 HP. But what is a lantern without magic? I guess it's still a lantern, but your lantern is cool and magical. Eldritch Blast is the best cantrip in the game. It's a ranged spell attack that deals 1d10 force damage, but it gets better later and more lanterny. Mage Hand creates a floating spectral hand that can lift 10-pound objects and activate non-magical items and switches. I think it's also green. Hopefully your DM lets it be green. Hexblades can learn the shield spell, adding 5 to your AC as a reaction for 1 round, also green. Comprehend languages lets you understand all languages for an hour. The ring does this automatically for you, but that's not really an option in D&D. At least it doesn't require concentration. Second level warlocks get invocations, which are like feats, but only for warlocks and not as good. But you do get way more of them, so it balances out nicely. Armor of Shadows gives you mage armor you can cast at will, giving yourself AC equal to 13 plus your dexterity modifier, and wrapping yourself in the best CGI $200 million can buy. I googled the budget of the movie to make that joke, and oh my god, why did they spend $200 million on that movie? Grasp of Hadar lets you pull a creature you hit with an Eldritch Blast 10 feet closer to you once per turn. There's no size limit either. If you want to pull a Tarrascan, you can do it. I have no earthly idea why you would, but you can. If you want a power build, mage armor is not going to be very helpful for you, and Hexblades have medium armor proficiency anyway. So I'll mention Agonizing Blast, which lets you add your Charisma modifier to the damage of your Eldritch Blast attacks. But power building ain't really our thing here. Just thought it would be worth mentioning. For this level spell, Expeditious Retreat lets you dash as a bonus action for up to 10 minutes, depending on your concentration. You're not as fast as your buddy Barry, but you can move if you need to. Third level warlocks Warlocks get a Pact Boon, a little gift from the Guardians of the Universe. Pact of the Blade lets you summon a melee weapon as an action, counts as magical in terms of beating resistances, and it can even be two-handed. So now if you want a big green axe, you can get a big green axe. For this level's spell, Blur from the Hexblade list gives creatures disadvantage on hitting you for up to a minute, depending on your concentration. Believe it or not, sometimes being wreathed in green light makes you harder to hit. Who knew? As a Protector Aasimar, you also get Radiant Soul here, giving you a flying speed and letting you deal extra radiant damage equal to your total level once per turn. This lasts for a minute, and it's the ideal way to get your Green Lantern flight on. But for you folks who wanted to be the Squirrel Green Lantern, we'll get an option for you soon. Don't worry. 4th level Warlocks get an ability score improvement. Bump up your Charisma. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but so far you're using it for, let me check my notes here. Oh, everything. Yeah, that's probably pretty important. For this level spell, Misty Step gives you some short-range teleportation, letting you bamf 30 feet as a bonus action. It's great for getting where you need to go and doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. It's a fun little spell. 5th level Warlocks can learn a new invocation. Thirsting Blade lets you attack twice with your packed weapon as one action. I'm not sure why you would use a non-ring weapon, but don't. You can also learn 3rd level spells. Fly lets a creature you touch fly 60 feet per round for up to 10 minutes, depending on your concentration. So now every Green Lantern can fly, even the Goliath ones. That's for all you Kilowog fans. But hey, where's that Green Lantern light, am I right? Let's bounce over to Cleric really quickly, specifically a light domain Cleric. Believe it or not, they have some abilities that work really well with light. Warding Flare lets you impose disadvantage on someone attacking you within 30 feet. It's kind of a cheeky move, but shining a light in someone's eyes can be useful. You can do this an amount of times per day equal to your Wisdom modifier per long rest. As far as Cleric spells go, Sacred Flame forces a dexterity save of 8 plus your proficiency bonus and Wisdom modifier on a creature, dealing 2d8 radiant damage to those that fail, and you can ignore cover. I like to imagine the light sort of loops around any barriers. Word of Radiance forces a Constitution save on creatures within 5 feet of you, dealing 2d6 radiant damage to those that fail. Guidance gives a creature of your choice an extra d4 to use for ability checks. Knowledge of the Cosmos is surely worth a d4. Right? For your 1st level spells, Guiding Bolt is a ranged spell attack that deals 4d6 radiant damage on a hit and gives the next person attacking the creature advantage, like you just shot a big green arrow at them, because really, you kinda did. Shield of Faith lets you add 2 to the AC of a creature of your choice for up to 10 minutes, depending on your concentration, so you can defend not only yourself, but any squishy members of the league as well. Did Batman seriously bring Robin to fight Brainiac? That is so irresponsible. Detect Magic lets you sense magical auras and what type of magic is causing them. Necromancy tends to mean Blackest Night is a go. I'd be on the lookout for that. Finally, Healing Word lets you heal a creature 1d4 plus your Wisdom modifier as a bonus action, and it has a 60-foot range, so you can get a healing beam going with a little distance. You can also get some spells from your domain. Burning Hands creates a 15-foot cone of fire, forcing a dexterity save on creatures, and dealing 3d6 fire damage to those that fail. The limits of the ring are your imagination. Can you imagine a flamethrower? Then you can make one. Or you could use Fairy Fire to force a dexterity save on creatures in a 20-foot cube. Failing that, they can't become invisible, and allies have advantage on attacks against them. It's pretty easy to hit things when they're glowing with green light, unless you're casting Blur. Then it isn't, I guess. Speaking of your Warlock spells, multi-classing spellcasters with Warlock isn't that scary. You basically have the same spell levels you would if you didn't multi-class, but you can swap Warlock slots and Cleric slots as you want. Just remember, your Warlock slots come back to you on short rests, and the Cleric slots take a long rest. You gotta recharge. 2nd level Clerics can channel Divinity once per short rest. All Clerics can turn undead, forcing a Wisdom save on undead creatures within 30 feet. Failing it, they're frightened and have to dash away for up to a minute or until they take damage. Again, if you see some of your former colleagues with a ring that makes Pink Floyd posters look cooler, be prepared. Or you could rock Radiance of the Dawn, creating an awesome light that dispels even advanced darkness within 30 feet of you and forces enemies in that radius to make a Constitution saving throw or take 2d10 plus your Cleric level in radiant damage, half as much if they succeed. Just because it's light doesn't mean the damage isn't heavy. If your friends take heavy damage though, Cure Wounds is nice to have, healing 1d8 plus your Wisdom modifier as an action. If you've got the time and you aren't too far away, this can get a little more off than Healing Word. 3rd level Clerics can learn 2nd level spells. Spiritual Weapon is the most Green Lantern spell in the book. It conjures a floating spectral weapon that takes any shape you want. You can move it 30 feet and make a melee spell attack with a bonus action with it for up to a minute, dealing force damage equal to 1d8 plus your Wisdom modifier. Big green bat? That's good. Big green bat, but like the animal bat? Also an option. But you'd kind of be cutting in on your rogues theme, so I might want to stick with the sporting equipment. 4th level Clerics get an ability score improvement. Level your Wisdom score with your Charisma score. We're going to be sticking with Cleric for a while now. It's pretty important. Also grab Hold Person. It's really good, forcing a Wisdom saving throw on a humanoid and paralyzing them for up to a minute, depending on your concentration, or if they pass the save at the end of their turns. Attacks against them are made with advantage, and melee attacks automatically crit when they hit. Remember that rogue I said was in the party? They're gonna love pummeling someone you've locked down with light. 5th level clerics can now destroy undead of challenge rating 1/2 or lower when they use turn undead. Skeletons are no longer an issue, though at total level 10 they probably shouldn't be anyway. You can also learn 3rd level spells from the light domain. Daylight creates a 60-foot radius sphere of bright light and 60 feet of dim light after that. It dispels magical darkness of 3rd level or lower as well. You could affix it to an object, maybe a piece of jewelry like, I don't know, a bracelet. It lasts for up to an hour, no concentration required. Fireball forces a dexterity save on creatures within a 20-foot radius, dealing 8d6 fire damage to those that fail. You can imagine a missile, right? Tongues lets a creature you touch understand all languages and communicate with anyone who speaks at least one language for an hour. Also no concentration required. This is better than comprehend languages because you get to talk to the aliens too. That sounds fun. 6th level light clerics get improved flare, letting you use your reaction to throw one of your flares out to protect an ally within 30 feet of you. The core sticks together. You can also channel divinity twice per short rest now for another big old light blast or bless zombies, your call. For this level spell, Spirit Guardians lets you call in some green lanterns for backup surrounding you in a 15-foot radius. Enemies moving through that space have their movement speed halved, and they have to make a wisdom saving throw, taking 3d8 radiant damage if they fail, half as much if they succeed. 7th level clerics get 4th level spells. From the light list, Guardian of Faith summons a jovial green giant who stands guard for up to 8 hours or until it deals 60 damage. It's gonna smack anyone who's hostile to you that gets within 10 feet of it, forcing them to make a dexterity save, dealing 20 damage automatically if they fail and 10 damage if they succeed. Another spell without concentration. You've got a great amount of these if you don't mind spending a couple of turns getting them all going. 8th level clerics get an ability score improvement. Get that wisdom cap, then make a cap with your wisdom score and bash an enemy with it. Spiritual weapon lets you make a holographic champagne bottle that attacks people by shooting a cork out. How is this not in every single build I've ever made? You also get potent spell casting, letting you add your wisdom modifier to the damage of your cleric cantrips, meaning with Sacred Flame and your Radiant Soul, you can now deal 3d8 plus 18 radiant damage with a cantrip at this level. Your Destroy Undead also now works on undead challenge rating of 1 or lower, which is nice for hordes. 9th level clerics get 5th level spells. Holy Weapon makes a weapon magical and adds 2d8 radiant damage to your attack rolls with it for up to an hour depending on your concentration. If you want to end it early, I'm not sure why, but you can make it explode, dealing 4d8 radiant damage to enemies you choose within 30 feet that fail a constitution save and they're blinded for a minute, half damage and no vision damage to those that succeed. If you want more lasers, Dawn creates a 30-foot radius sphere of light that's 40 foot high. You can move it up to 60 feet as a bonus action on follow-up turns, and it hangs out for a minute depending on your concentration. Creatures inside that make a constitution save or take 4d10 radiant damage. You really like that radiant damage, and it makes sense. It's good stuff. 10th level clerics get Divine Intervention, letting you call out to the Guardians for some help as an action. Roll a percentile die. If the roll is lower than your cleric level, they intervene. The DM plays the Guardians and determines what kind of help they'll give you. Considering it's a 10% chance, I would make it pretty cool. If this fails, you've got to wait until tomorrow to call them again, and if it works, you have to wait 7 days. Apparently, clerics don't want to seem too desperate. 11th level clerics get 6th level spells. Blade Barrier creates a wall of magical blades 100 feet long, 20 feet high, and 5 feet thick, or a ringed wall 60 feet in diameter. When a creature starts its turn there or enters the area for the first time on their turn, they have to make a dexterity save or take 6d10 slashing damage, half as much on a success, with the wall staying up for up to 10 minutes depending on your concentration. Remember how you can pull people 10 feet closer to you with an Eldritch Blast? You'll have to make a ranged spell attack through the 3/4 cover provided by the wall, but I believe in you. If you want some more healing energy, Heal lets you heal a creature 70 HP within 60 feet of you and cures any blindness, deafness, or disease. You Destroy Undead also bumps up again, now destroying undead of challenge rating 2 or lower. 12th level clerics get our last ability score improvement. You can cap your charisma modifier or get the Warcaster feat, giving you advantage on concentration saves. You can cast spells with your hands full if you're using a big green axe, and you can hit creatures with a spell for your opportunity attacks rather than a weapon attack, as long as the spell takes an action to cast and would only target them. Really, it's up to you, but a maximum lantern wouldn't stop just making one weapon. You'd build all the things. 13th level clerics can learn 7th level spells, but I'm not really feeling any of these. Instead, grab legend lore from the 5th level, giving you some good details about a person, place, or thing of legendary renown. The more you know about it already, the deeper the amount of information you can get. It's really up to your DM, and I bring this up every time I talk about the spell, but this is a 5th level spell, so give them something good. It's the same level as Raise Dead, so the information should be as valuable as bringing someone back to life. Some of you might be saying, hey, Don't clerics get to choose their spells every day with an amount equal to their wisdom modifier plus their cleric level? That's true, but it means I'd have to explain every cleric spell in every cleric video, so we're just doing the ones I feel like are most in character. 14th level clerics Destroy Undead now works on undead creatures of challenge rating 3 or lower, which includes things like mummies. So if your Green Lantern is Brendan Fraser, you're set. By the way, if they wanted to cast Brendan Fraser as an older Kyle Rayner showing Jon Stewart the ropes, that would be pretty great. I just want to put that out into the ether. Our capstone is the 15th level of Cleric, where we can grab 8th level spells. Anti-Magic Field is a pretty great defensive option, creating a 10-foot radius sphere that prevents all magic from getting in or out of it for up to an hour depending on your concentration. Only downside here is that you can't cast spells out of it or within it, and your magical weapons will be sent away. Think of it as a last-ditch effort to shut down Sinestro. Maybe you lock down all the light power in the area while the less magically inclined avian mammal-themed heroes come in to finish the job. Now that we've hit level 20, let's figure out how viable this build is. First, radiant damage is big, even when you run out of slots. With Radiant Soul and Potent Spellcasting, your Sacred Flame deals 4d8 plus 25 damage, which is pretty darn good. You're also very mobile, with 2 different options for flight and even a short-range teleport to get you where you need to go. Finally, so many of your spells are concentration free, so you can have a spiritual weapon, a guardian of faith, daylight, holy weapon, and your radiant soul all going at the same time, making you the ultimate defeater of darkness. For weaknesses, 120 health and 14 AC is risky stuff for a Gish. Again, you can get medium armor for 16 AC if you're not concerned with a bulky uniform, but even that isn't great. Your physical stats in general are pretty bad since we needed to invest in wisdom and charisma. If you don't care about all those light benefits or high wisdom, swap the cleric levels for divine soul sorcerer. Your spell list should be virtually identical, and you'll have an extra 4 points from your ability score improvements to spend on things like dexterity and constitution. Finally, all that radiant damage is great for fiends and undead, but a celestial would give you some serious issues with your very limited damage variety. Thankfully, celestials are generally pretty good-natured. They don't need to be bashed in by you. Get your green on and take out every other ring in the visual spectrum. Just maybe keep your distance. It can get scary if you take too much damage. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Click the annotation in the top right corner of the video to vote for which Spider-Man villain you'd like to see. Your options are Lizard, Mysterio, or the Green Goblin. And subscribe to my Let's Play channel, WARLOCK and Mango, but only if you want to watch it.